Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week because we're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, first up we have a new model from GiantMouse. This is the ACE Jutland, or Jutland if we're not even caring about how it's pronounced, but I believe Jutland is the most correct pronunciation I can get away with. $195 for this knife. This is made in Italy, and the results are quite good. We've got a 3.35 inch clip point blade, very aggressive, or long sweeping clip point shape, Elmax steel with a stone wash finish. This is going to be just a phenomenal slicing profile overall with that blade shape and that amount of belly right there. Very cool. Got a crowned spine, and even the swedged portion here, the spine is also crowned along there, which is very cool. Orange G10 for the handles on this one. Green micarta is also available. And as you can see, it's got a really nice contour to it. You can check the layers out there on the screen and in hand. Feels very good. It's fairly sizable. My hands are slightly larger than average, and I've got all four of my fingers on that in a gorilla grip, no problem. Wire pocket clip, which is reversible, liner lock, and ball bearings in the pivot here. And you've got two ways to open it. You've got the flipper tab, works great. You've also got the thumb cutout, which is working really well on that reverse flick, especially for me. Very, very cool. It's interesting that this knife has come out not too long after Benchmade's new folding hunter, the tagged out. But if you're looking for something with more premium materials, the handles here are definitely an upgrade, and in orange it definitely kind of reinforces the comparison here. And Elmax steel, I like the CPM 154 on the Benchmade, but Elmax is probably seen as a little bit more of an upgrade for most folks. They got that going for you as well. So very cool knives. Make sure to check these out if you're in the market for a folding hunting knife, given the season is pretty much upon us, or any type of everyday carry folder where you're going to be doing a lot of long slices. This is going to excel. Next up, we've got a new version of GiantMouse's ACE Farley, a slip joint knife. Check that bad boy out. This one is not made in Italy. This is made by Bestech for GiantMouse, and the price on this, $155. Got a really nicely shaped drop point blade, full flat ground, 2 3/4 inch M390 steel for a lot of edge retention. Crown spine here as well. Goes through the backspacer, that crowned treatment, so you have a really cool visual aspect and something that costs a little bit more to do. Kind of a luxury touch. Nice half stop, nice snap closed. It's kind of it's a resounding feeling, but it's not clicky. It's almost like a damped feeling. And you still have a very resounding close. It's pretty nice. One of the nice things about this knife, however, or another one of the nice things, comes down to the handle. Again, it's contoured. We've got a blue, kind of dusk blue G10, but you've also got that wire pocket clip. So a lot easier to carry than, or perhaps, depending on how you look at it, perhaps more convenient to carry than a lot of traditional slip joints. But if that's not your thing, you can take that off. Or you can put it on the other side if you wanted to use it on the left-hand side. Both of those are going to work very well. Yeah, what more to say? It's just a nice little efficient everyday non-locking knife. Speaking of some nice everyday non-locking knives, you've seen several of these Jack Wolf knives up to this point. The newest release is dropping tomorrow. This is Thursday when this video first posts, but the Friday immediately after, the Vampire Jack from Jack Wolf is going to be dropping. I usually tend to show one of the more fancy handle covers, but figured I'd show one of the entry-level versions with natural micarta in this case. $275 for this particular version. The fancier fat carbon and similar materials that you will be able to get on this come in about $25 more, right at that $300 point. But the blades here are M390, 3 inches long, nice spear point shape on this one, and a full height hollow grind with a very, very thin and sharp edge on it. Very nicely done. Titanium handles with integral bolsters front and back, and that coffin-shaped handle here, hence Vampire Jack. Nice little nod to that. Really, really nice, snappy walk and talk there. Definitely deliberate. It requires a very conscientious motion to open or close that knife when you're going to do it. Just check that out. You can see kind of always a strong suit of these knives for sure. Fit and finish is fantastic. The pattern looks very cool. And if this is your sort of thing too, the packaging that these knives come with, I always have to show because they're just awesome. There's the tube. It comes with aluminum with a screw top. Has a little collectible pog there and pocket slips, stickers, microfiber cloth, the whole 9 yards. Just, you know, an eminently collectible package overall. But if usability is your thing, it has that going for it as well. All right, next up we have Ben Peterson's Knafs brand and his latest release. This is the Lander pocket knife. The most affordable of his designs yet, I believe, to date, $58 for this. 2 3/4 inch D2 drop point blade on this knife. Has a stone washed finish in a very useful shape. And the handles are blue G10, black is also available. There are also some replacement scales already available because one of the whole kind of fun things about this design is that the scales are intended to be fast swappable, meaning you only have to take these 2 screws out to remove the scale and put a new one on. You don't have to worry about unscrewing the pivot at all, which is typically what you would have to do. So that is pretty cool. But in addition to the replacement scale sets you can get right now, which are about 20 bucks, we've got natural G10, white G10, and black G10 right now. And the natural and white especially are gonna be real nice if you wanted to dye them a different color. We did a video on how to dye your knife handle scales very recently. You can check that out if you want. But on top of that, the 3D printable files on these handle scales are open source with a Creative Commons license. So you could do quite literally your own thing with it if you really wanted to. It's a nice platform to try that out on. But let's say you don't care about the fast swappable scales. You want to know how it is as a knife. Well, very nice. The quality feels very good. Nothing to complain about fit and finish wise at all. Got ball bearings in the pivot with those thumb studs, and as you can see, flicked out very, very easily. The handle is a roughly neutral shape. Got a little bit of a kink here at the back, which kind of calls to mind some of his other designs right now. And yeah, the neutrality of that handle is really gonna work for larger hand sizes. My pinky finger is kind of falling back off of that kink on the back, but it doesn't feel like it's slipping off, if you know what I mean. It's just a very accommodating shape. Deep carry pocket clip on that handle, which is reversible, and the block out plate comes there on the front. So easy to swap that around. Inset liner lock, which is right hand biased, of course, but lefties are unfortunately have kind of learned how to deal with that at this point. But yeah, just overall, fairly nondescript, but very useful shape overall. Should be a lot of fun. Next up, we have the Knafs tool Burrito, rather whimsically named. This comes in about 35 bucks, and this is, I'm gonna open it up here in a minute. It's a couple things. It's a tool organizer and a portable takedown mat, essentially, all in one. You've got this toggle here on the front. Simply slip that out through the loop. So it unfolds kind of trifold-like, and actually I need a moment. I didn't think of having a place to unfold this in front of me, so give me 1 second. All right, once you've got a space to place it, you've got some a magnet secured flap here at the top, and then it unfolds like so. You've got 2 pockets here on the front, some elast-sized strapping. Can really keep your silica gel packs nice and organized. You never know when those are gonna come in handy, of course. Or, if you wanna carry a couple of extra knives, there's space for that here. Space for driver tools, lubricants, any of the small containers, that sort of thing. There's also a zippered mesh pouch here on one side. So a lot of different options to carry what you yourself want to carry. And then on this side, you've got your portable takedown mat. Let's say you have a lander, you could keep your extra scale sets here in some of these elastic straps right here. But you take the screws out and Nice clever little thing here. The magnets in all four corners aren't just intended to keep the thing closed. You can actually keep your hardware there on those little magnetized sections. You can see right there, it works. I'm not gonna actually unscrew this knife at the moment, however. It's a really great little organizational touch. That's quite nice. That's pretty cool. Whether you use it to, actually use as a maintenance thing or just to carry a few extra knives with you, it's a fairly compact thing once folded up. Obviously, there will be a little bit more bulk if you're using it just as a carrier, but it's pretty cool. Price on these, again, like 35 bucks. Looks rather nice, and some nice little useful touches to it as well. All right, next up we have a bunch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count, I promise.
Numbers.
7 new WE and CIVIVI knives, all dropping tomorrow, the Friday immediately after this video. We'll start with the CIVIVIs. First we have the Sinisys flipper. Comes in $64.50, and it's a lot of knife for the money. I especially like the burlap handled version right here with that front side being that really cool rugged material. And it is a frame lock on the back, one of the few of a small but slowly growing list of CIVIVIs that aren't liner locks. And actually, to save time, all of these WE and CIVIVIs are gonna have ball bearings in the pivot and excellent fit and finish and very thin, sharp edges. That's just kind of what they do. So I'll save time by saying they all do that quite well. Anyway, deep carry pocket clip, reversible for either side, ball bearings in the pivot. Hey, I thought I was gonna save time by
It was never gonna happen.
mentioning that. Great flipping action. Nice clean profile to the clip point blade when it's open. No obstructions or fenestrations in the handle or in the blade to get in the way. Just nice clean cutting path with that high flat grind. That 14C28N steel I think is very good stuff, especially on the more affordable end of the spectrum. You're gonna get good toughness, great edge stability. That's what that toughness really gets you on a smaller folder like this. Even though it's not a small folder, I mean, 3.7 inches. But very, very cool knife. Couple different front handle options. I believe there is G10. Yep, there's a carbon fiber laminate that comes with a Damascus blade, which is also cool. So you can check them all out below. Next up, we have the Banneret. Comes in about $93.50. A little bit smaller, 3.5 inches. You've got a Nitro V blade steel, which is not too dissimilar from 14C28N, but it is not quite the same. Still very similar properties and very good stuff. Very cool spear point profile. In a way, I kind of feel this is like a modern flipper version of a spear point Barlow. You've even got the kind of aesthetics to match with the stainless steel integrated bolster, G10 inlays on the front and back of this one, but there's a micarta inlay option. There's also a Damascus steel option with this as well. Performance-wise, the Nitro V is going to be a little bit better than the Damascus, I think, at least in terms of edge holding, but the Damascus, of course, looks awesome too. Full flat grind on that spear point blade. You've got the swedge there at the tip. Very nice lockup, very nice flipping action. Again, a nice clean cutting path on this blade and very clean folded up profile too. Not a whole lot of blade sticking out, narrow enough carry, deep carry pocket clip will keep it out of the way. And then you've got a good amount of blade in that package. Flipper tab feels maybe a tiny bit small but that's, I had that reaction real quick on just that very second to last flip I just did. But maybe that was just a quick gut thing. It still works very, very well. Lockup's great, profile looks awesome too. Next up, getting into the more premium WE stuff. These first two are actually limited editions, so not gonna be sticking around as a regular catalog line item. The first is the Reiver, R-E-I-V-E-R, about $260 for this. And this really reminds me a lot of some of the earlier WE knife releases. It has a similar kind of style and quality to it. Blade, just about a full 4 inches of S35 VN. Thomas?
Reversed it.
It is. We'll go ahead and I'll allow that, even though I'd probably call it a modified cleaver, modified sheep's foot shape. Modified cleaver, I don't know where that came from. But it's a good long, strong chunk of this steel. High flat grind, very long and nicely executed swedge there at the back. Tiny little bit of fuller there. Not really enough to give you like a flicking anchor to go off of, just due to the placement, but it does kind of remind me of like an old school slip joint long pull in a way. If you wanted to open this two-handed, it gives you a good friction point. But if not, of course you can flip it open quite nicely. Bronzed titanium for this one. There are a few different colorways. Black blade is also available in addition to the very fine blasted texture you get on this one. But kind of similar to the CIVIVI Banneret we just looked at. It's a lot of power folded up into a very narrow frame, narrow pocket presence overall. I mean, you can get a lot of work done with a blade that strong, and the handle, while not, you know, voluminous, still does a good job of feeling quite secure. For something a little bit smaller, the next limited WE, I'm actually rather taken with at the moment. This is the Shakan. Comes in about $217 right now. Again, a few different handle and blade color combos are available. I really like this blue anodized spiral pattern you get right here. Spirals, radiuses, whatever you want to call it, it has a very fetching look. The black and the blue looks great, offset against the brassy accents, brassy, golden, whatever you want to call them, accents look great. Milled pocket clip, frame lock, ball bearings, and to me, this is what it's all about, that blade. Nice drop point. We might even be a spear point shape there. Full flat grind, 20 CV steel, 3-inch length. It reminds me a lot, actually. Same reason I really like that ACE Farley blade shape earlier. I love a drop point. I think they're just so useful, but they're hard to make look kind of, they're harder to imbue with sex appeal than some other shapes out there. And something about this, the proportions feel just right to me. And as an EDC carrier of this type of blade, it speaks to me. Nice flipping action. Again, nice clean cutting path here. Nothing in the way, nothing to get in the way of just an extremely usable blade. And I could say the same thing about this next WE. This is the Smooth Sentinel, also with a 3-inch drop point, full flat grind blade. A little bit thinner, actually. That's quite a thin blade for many of the WEs out there. Let me see if we have a spec on it. 0.102, so just a little bit over 3/32 of an inch if you're Imperial. It's gonna be a very slicey, very nice blade shape. Titanium frame inlays. This is the copper infused carbon fiber, but there are several fancy versions. About $210 for this. You might be able to get some of them decent bit less. Yeah, actually, micarta inlays start around $180, which is an easier way to get into this model. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible, very nice flipping action. Requires a little bit more thought for me to kind of push the lock bar out of the way. The full length inlays on these, I don't know. See, when I think about it, it's only when I don't think about it that I miss it. And I don't know if that's just me, but I don't know what it is. But we've got a very clean profile. It's gonna work great as a gentleman's knife for some of the versions especially. Maybe the all black leans a little bit away from that, but there are versions, of course, without the black blade or titanium frame. But overall, it's just a very nice, compact, everyday carry. All right, next up, we have a new version of the Synergy 2. This is the 2v2 from WE. Of course, a Jim O'Young design based on the original integral folding knife, the M-Tech, I think it was Speedtech Synergy. That was the first knife to be designed for automated production in CAD, and I believe the first integral folder, at least on the production level of anything, if I'm remembering my story correctly. About $345 for this, and we've got a drop point blade now on these. And this is, I think, my favorite blade finish and handle combination that they've done on this series yet. 3.5-inch 20 CV drop point shape with a heavy stone washed finish, not something you see too often on WE knives, and then a flamed titanium handle. Integral, as mentioned, it's a single piece, and the swells are something that, you know, that original knife kind of made its name on, and you get them here too. It's a very supple feeling in the hand, but you've got plenty of grip thanks to the milled ridges radiating out from the pivot on this knife. Just fantastic. Lockup is great, flipping action is great, cutting path is nice and clean. That's been the case on every one of these CIVIVIs so far this week. Hollow grind on this one with a swedge at the top, full length as well to remove that point of drag. Crowned spine, lot of fantastic details right here. All right, this next one is the Typhoeus. It comes in about just under 300, and I have to admit this one's a little bit of a head scratcher for me, so I'm trying to figure out, or I've tried to figure out what the intent behind it was, and I'll share that with you here. Here it is. Looks like could be a folder, could be a fixed blade, we're not sure. Well, we're sure. It is a folding knife, but the blade doesn't fold shut. It folds to a push dagger configuration. And there's no lock, but when you are holding it in that push dagger config, you know, your fingers keep it from going any other direction. And the same thing is true when you're gripping the knife there. It's not really gonna fold shut on you, even if you get a little bit of movement as you're working. Now, my theory behind the why of this, apart from just being, hey, maybe that's kind of cool, it comes with the, my clue for this was the sheath, which is right here. It is leather and it is designed to hold the knife in the push configuration. And I think this would have made even more sense if this were a Kydex sheath to do this. But my guess is, what if you wanted something with some push dagger-like qualities for a last ditch or a self-defense knife, but you wanted something more also useful for your day-to-day stuff? Well, in the draw position, it's what you need in that self-defense scenario. But if it's the 99.999% of the time you're not dealing with a self-defense scenario, you can just kind of flick it up and use it as you would a normal knife. So perhaps that's the reason. Or maybe it's just to be cool, I'm not sure. 20 CV blade here, about 2.5 inches long, mostly dealing with kind of the sharpened edge there. That's not measured from the tip back to the handle, of course. Although it might be if we're measuring it from this configuration. We'll have to check and make sure.
We're not lawyers.
No, very true. But it is cool. There are a couple versions involved. You've got some blacked out versions, I think a blued titanium frame, and this right here as well. All right, speaking of self-defensive backup knives, we've got the Swick 6 is now in stock from Spyderco, 138/60 for this one. This is the small hole version. There's another version of this knife, which is not in stock at the moment. We're filming this that has a larger diameter finger hole right here. But you're dealing with a Wharncliffe blade, about 2 3/4 of an inch, LC 200N steel. Great, great tough stuff right there. And a small G10 handle. It's kind of cool. I don't remember if I noticed this before. There's no visible pins on the G10 right there. Rather interesting. So I wonder if that's epoxied on or not underneath, and maybe has some hidden pins to keep it from moving laterally around. Very interesting. Nice finish overall, even though this is the small hole variant, and I do have some pretty large finger diameters. My finger fits in there no problem. If I were wearing gloves, that wouldn't be the same case. So maybe if you are a person who sees yourself using this wearing gloves, whether they're work gloves or combat gloves, maybe wait around for the large hole version. But it orients really well. This is going to make a great utility knife in those times you're not using it as a potential, last ditch item. 138/60, did I mention was the price on this? Made in their Golden, Colorado facility, and everything feels just about perfect on it. The sheath for this knife is Kydex right here. It has their G-clip on the back for easy inside the waistband carry or belt carry if you wish. Maybe even pocket carry this, but it is going to be quite wide. You might not have much space for anything else. And what I like about it as well, you're able to get your full grip on the knife before you draw it from that sheath, which is going to make it very easy to deploy when you need it. Next, we have the newest version of the Reate Iron-X. And I know this video is getting long, so I'll try to kind of boogie along here at the end. Really cool profile, this knife. I love the sweeping lines overall. Just under or just above 390 for these knives. You've got micarta or carbon fiber inlays. And where this is different from the other Iron-X flippers, well, the other Iron-X folders, I should say, is you used to be able to get them either with thumb studs or a flipper, but not both. Now we have both. Great flipping action thanks to the ball bearings. Let's try the thumb studs. very cool. Very nice shape overall too. Although I'm not really using it quite where I would expect to, but based on the way it's angled, I'm actually getting it under it right here and using it that way. But it works just fine. Contoured handle, titanium frame lock, feels very, very good. The pocket clip doesn't even get in the way too bad. So I feel like I could really push this knife hard if I needed to without being uncomfortable. 3¼ inch drop point blade, M390 steel, 2/3 up of the way, but it's a high flat grind right there. Maybe not super high, but you know what I mean. Very cool. Fit and finish is typical Reate, which is to say world class, and one of the slightly more affordable Reates out there. A lot of them can get, you know, more expensive than this. So under 400 bucks for this level of quality is probably not too bad. All right, next up is the latest imported Microtech. These are made by Reich Knife. This is the Anax, a new manual. It is an integral, and speaking of kind of value for a dollar, about $450 for this knife. Not a cheap knife, not an inexpensive knife, but again, for the level of quality, extra bits, which we'll get to, and the integral construction, not terrible. Of course, throw in the Microtech name there as well. 3.7-inch blade, M390 steel. I love this shape even more than the SOCOM manuals imported that they recently came out with. It's going to work as a front flipper, as you can see right there, and even I'm not having too much of a problem with it, despite video evidence right here to the contrary. Big milled fuller on each side, which you could thumb open very easily. You can reverse flick very easily as well. Handle is a bit slimmer than the manual SOCOM imports right now, and I think this shape is even more attuned to everyday carry, I think. It's would be a little more useful for me, I should say. Let me be clear about that. Nice integral frame, very cool. You can see some nice details on the stop pin here, right at the back. A lot of jimping there to push off of with your thumb if you need to. You've got the pivot, and the hardware is going to use this custom kind of puckered triangular shape. That's not a standard that I know of.
No.
But they do include drivers for each of those sizes in the package, so keep that in mind. You're not going to be left out in the cold there. Milled pocket clip, ball bearing, a pinch point, and here at the back you can see we've got the little doodad. It's like the thing that stops the doors. It goes boing. Anyway, a little piece of cable with a fob there at the back. You've got the ball, or something that looks even more Microtech, the small spike right there. But you don't have to use either of these. You can actually unscrew that and then don't have to worry about that. So if that looked a little weird to you and you don't want that in the way, you don't need to. But if you do, you got it. Next up, we have a new Ray Laconico designed artisan cutlery. I feel like I mumbled his name there. Ray Laconico. Sorry, Ray.
The auto captions never get it, so.
Ray Laconico designed folder for artisan cutlery. This is the Andromeda. $129 for these. Fairly good deal for what you're getting. 3.5-inch blade, S35 VN. You can get it with the green micarta or with satin finish, or black micarta with a black finish. And as you can see, this is a button lock knife. Has that drop shut thing and flickable centripetal action that we all know and love. Thumb studs open nicely, and this is one that's going to be a pretty good amount of security with this button lock. They've got it nestled in there quite nicely, so chance of inadvertent closure here is pretty slim, which I like. Of course, again, we're not lawyers, your mileage may vary, but the more I open and close this, the more I am digging this blade shape. I love the narrow, agile profile to it, the high flat grind, the swedge, thin enough, also thick enough, depending on how you look at it. Just feels appropriate for this design, I gotta say. Gonna work well. Maybe it's not quite fancy enough to be a gentleman's knife. Maybe we'll see some fancier versions from them in the future, which could really amp this up to the next level. But even as such, very useful shape. Handle is nice and neutral here, no guard to get in the way. So if you like to be able to get right up on the heel and choke up right next to it for your small work, you can do that very easily with this knife. No dead space to kind of worry about with that handle shape there. Yeah, very, very cool. Milled pocket clip, which is reversible. What's not to love? I dare you to tell me. Anyway, I like it. It's pretty good. And now, to finish out this video, it's fixed blade time yet again. Gotta love it. The Ontario Blackbird has been upgraded to S35VN, which is very nice to see. Made in the USA, $165 and some change for this 5-inch spear-pointed blade. I kind of have always thought of this as like a modern tactical survival Kephart. Tell me you don't see that right there. Fantastically versatile blade shape. You're dealing with thickness, maybe not quite 1/8 of an inch, but with a full flat grind. Going to be a great kind of do most everything's type of geometry to it. Black micarta handles, a bit on the flat side, but work quite well. They are removable, so you could thicken that out if you want. You could also do some custom scales to it if you want. I've seen some real doozies out there over time too. You could also, if you're talking about modding, I like it. For a survival knife especially, I like a slightly more prominent finger guard, but if that's not your thing, you could always grind that down a little bit. But I do like that kind of feature on a quote-unquote survival knife. Speaking of which, the sheath is definitely kind of military inspired, which kind of reinforces the survival thing going on. But you've got a retention strap for that guard, so it should be said if you remove that guard, that won't work as well. Handle strap there, and the thing I like the most about this, and call me a nerd, I don't care. This is the thing, even more than the steel upgrade, which is great. I like this. I like the front zipper pouch on this sheath. Rather than a like an elasticized thing with a top entry, you've got a full-length entry right there. So it should be easier even to pack, depending on what you're trying to pack, extra survival bits and bobs in there. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this something I'm making too big a deal out of? I just think it's pretty sweet.
Good spot to keep snacks.
Ooh, snacky snacks. But yeah, snacks, sure. Can't get over snacks now. Nope. Fire starters, sharpeners, you know, wire, cabling, like anything that you might have in a compact survival kit, you could keep in something like this. If you wanted to integrate that to your sheath system, you got it. And then of course on the back, MOLLE compatibility along with a nice sturdy belt loop there, non-snappable. So it is a more permanent belt loop than some of the this style of sheath you see out there, which positive or negative depending on how you look at it. But I kind of like the extra kind of peace of mind that comes with that. It's not going to accidentally snap loose on you. Next, we have the Stroup Knives Mountain Predator E.J. Snyder Signature Edition knife. Very cool. like this is one of those ones you can stop to take a moment and just go, Very nice. This is another one of those, it's kind of an in-between knife design. It's either more tactical or more survival. This feels a bit more tactical, but knowing E.J. Snyder, not personally, but knowing about him and what he does, I'm sure he has taken this out into the field as a quote-unquote survival knife or one-tool option and has positively put it through the ringer. And then it's probably come through with flying colors, which is why his name is on it. Quite literally, in fact. You see it right here on the front of the blade. Price on this is coming in at $400. You've got a handmade blade, 8 inches long, 1095 carbon for a good blend of toughness and reliability and ease of maintenance. Handle is G10. You've got some aggressive scallops there to keep it from slipping from your fingers. As far as hot spots go, I'd probably want to use a pair of gloves personally if I was doing a lot of finer work with it. So keep that in mind. But this looks like some of those other great kind of survival knife designs out there of a similar size. This is going to do the job great. Going to work for splitting wood, work for the four-legged self-defense situations you might encounter out there, or no-legged, maybe snakes. Joe Flowers would get mad at me for saying that. But.
Fish.
Fish? Another no-legged, but not a no-limbed. Wait a minute. I talked about self-defense. You're talking about fish?
Sharks are fish.
Yes, but.
So it has a sheath.
It has a sheath. Thank you, Thomas, for allowing me to ignore you. Kydex sheath, tech lock on the back so you can carry it horizontal or vertical, depending on how you have that oriented. Snaps in very nicely. The finish on this blade, the feel of it overall is really great. This is number 83, as you can see right there. I don't know if long-term all of these knives are gonna have the E.J. Snyder signature on it or not, I'm not sure. But it's just a really cool knife. Also, congrats to Stroup Knives, Stroup. They just won an award for one of their pry bar tools at Blade Show West this past weekend. So good on you folks there, congrats. And then last, but certainly not least, hopefully we still have a handful, or at least a few in stock by the time this video goes up. New version of the Puzon Wilderness Buoy from Work Tuff. Just like the Stroup. This is one you have to pick up and just go, Thank you for playing along. I love it. 9.3-inch blade, SK85 steel, which is the exact same thing as SK5, there, in case there's any confusion there. It's the exact same stuff. The standards industry, the Japanese Standards Commission, I should say, just decided to change its name for some reason. Not sure why, but there you go. Same stuff. Not high tech, but certainly highly reliable stuff. Kind of similar to the 1095 on the knife we just looked at. It's just it's the old farm truck. It's gonna start every time and always work for you. Great big clip point shape, saber height flat grind, very comfortable black G10 handles in this case, a little bit different from the last batch we had, and yet very, very comfortable to hold. Got a pinch point there if you're getting in, doing some things with the tip. Maybe you're doing some camp kitchen stuff. This is not ideal for that, but if it's what you got, it's gonna work. And then giant finger choil there for choking up and getting behind the edge, which can we just appreciate for a moment how refined and reflective that edge is? Always love to see. It's convex, and that high degree of finish is gonna work great if you're gonna use this as a big chopper, which you're gonna use this as a big chopper, aren't you? I know it. I could see it in your face. I would too, can't blame you. Kydex sheath on this guy too. It is right here. It's a big paddle, in fact. Comes with a Tech Lock style attachment, so you can do that sort of thing. Also comes with a few extras like a fire steel and striker, a little beverage koozie as well. If the knife wasn't enough to justify its price, which it is, got some extra bits too. All right, well, set this out of the way. That's all I have for you this week. Make sure to check out the links in the description to take you over to KnifeCenter.com if you're interested in any of them. While you're there, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because if you're buying one of these knives, wouldn't you like to be earning some free money to spend on your next ones? That's it for today. I'm David C. Anderson. That's Thomas behind the camera. Keep sticking around if you're still this far into the video. This Saturday, our FAQ series, episode 100. You're not going to want to miss it. See you next time.